Thank you very much, for your friendly and nice introduction. I feel really honored and privileged to become an honorary doctor of Tartu University. And it was a fascinating ceremony yesterday. It was also a long ceremony, but it was all in all great, and I really enjoyed. And I'm really very much looking forward to our next steps of collaboration, because I think there is a lot to do in the field of childhood, youth, and family studies. And there are so important topics around this field. And I always fascinated by also interdisciplinary research. So you are, I think many of you are more in the field of sociology, social policy, social work. I'm an educational scientist, and I jumped into this this international, global research context of child indicators, and then I realized how important it is also to have in mind the social, political aspects and even psychological aspects of growing up, of children's perceptions, children's ideas on what is a good life. And this topic, children and the good life, is a topic which, which is accompanying me through my career as childhood researcher since many years. And this is one of the cornerstones, let's say, also what I'm going to talk about this morning. And I really appreciate that you are here early Monday morning. Maybe some of you danced the whole night during the university ball. Yes, okay. So I heard it was nice and good music. So yeah, I'm grateful for this invitation and for the chance to share just some of our experiences and to may have also a discussion about this. In August, I talked about my work and research in the field of working through the past on child sexual abuse and survivors' reports to the independent inquiry in Germany. And here are some similarities, let's say it that way, to this topic. Ask Us, Participatory Research's Potential and Limitations in Childhood and Family Research. I started with empirical studies on children and their well-being, their ideas on the world and the family, the school in the year 2005, so nearly 20 years ago. Before that, I was very much more into historical childhood, family, and youth studies. I worked about childhood in the GDR right after the Second World War and the political ideas on childhood. So, but in 2005, I started together with a colleague from mental health and sociology a survey which was in that time in Germany really an innovative, because it was a survey about children between the age of 8 and 11. We asked them on the basis of a questionnaire. We also collected individual biographical interviews. And we combined that in that survey that was funded by a Christian organization, World Vision, and they started their own, let's say, policy strategy in Germany on the basis, that was their idea, on the basis of knowledge which should come from children that time, because they are very much more into advocacy work in countries like India or African countries. And so that's what I understood that time. They were a little bit under pressure why they are now active in such a rich country like Germany. So we started with this survey. We published it in 2007. Children aged 8 to 11. We had a representative survey which was not school-based. Trained interviewers went to the home of the children, and we had a sample of 2,400 children. And you can imagine that was extremely expensive also. But the quality of the data was very good, and we collected then also 12 interviews, and we presented these interviews we try to be as close to what the children originally said as possible. And why I'm starting with this, the feedback we received when we published this study, and because of some really professionalized media expert from this organization, we received a lot of media attention. And I went to so many conferences and workshops with professionals, whether from social work or from school, with teachers, and talked about our results. And what I really often heard that time was the question, well, this is really interesting, but can we believe what children are telling us? What do you think about a girl who has a conflict, a dispute during breakfast, and in the afternoon is asked about the relationship with mother and father? Maybe she will tick a box which is more negative than it would have been without a conflict. Or what do you know about the children's fantasies and their knowledge about the reality? And this made me first a bit angry, and second I started reading again what we know about social sciences methodological experiences, and we know that there is a problematic issue that answering to a questionnaire can also be, so your current situation is influential, of course, but we need some methodological controlling aspects, as well as this is also the fact when adults answer to questionnaires. So, and from that time on, I really started thinking about why do we in our society. I started with the perspective on children in Germany. Why is it so easy to formulate doubts about children's answers, children's comments, children's ideas? Why it seems to be so easy to say that it's more fantasy than reality? So what has this to do with the imbalance of power, our images of children? So, and this is the reason why I ask to talk about this topic, because this leads me to more other questions about participatory aspects of doing research. And I will say few more words in the introductory part. I will then say a few words about the participatory research approaches, which we can find in the literature. And then I will give you some information about the experiences we have. And then the fourth part is what can we learn from these experiences, and where do we need first more research, maybe more resources, definitely we have also to think and discuss critically about limitations. So I think we have to focus on potentials of participatory research in this context of childhood and family studies, but we also have to tell the truth about limitations, and also about resources this approach needs. So this is, I think, a good model, a good picture which shows the imbalance of power between adults and children, the weight of importance and voice, and it's also connected to so generational imbalances and gender imbalances. This very often goes together. So thinking about about participatory approaches, this in the literature I know very often goes together with the question, who is marginalized? Why is a specific group marginalized? Why do we not take into account their voices, their knowledge, their experiences in our research? And how this leads to a US philosopher, Miranda Fricker, calls this epistemological injustice. So how do we, as researchers, when we do not have taken into account these imbalances and categories of power, that this also leads not only to political imbalances or inequality, it also leads to epistemological inequality or injustice. And this is an interesting term. Miranda Fricker published this book already in 2007. And since a few years, this topic is received a lot of debates and observation, also in the context of, I will not go into that, but in the context of decolonial childhood, family, and youth studies. This is also interesting. I'm not that much into it, but I find it really interesting to see also this link. So core questions here when it comes to participatory approaches are whose expertise is recognized. And with this question or with this formulation, I'm already saying that, first of all, everyone has an expertise, but there are differences between this kind of expertises. And do we recognize more experimental or experience-based knowledge or professional expert knowledge? How can we find a balance between both? And how do these issues relate to children's rights? And these three questions, especially whose expertise is recognized and who is an expert, this is really important. But, and this is what I'm thinking a lot about, the problems, the risk, the ambivalence which are coming up when we're thinking about everyone is an expert in his or her own field, on the one hand side, and not only researchers are experts, but when it comes to, and I mentioned it yesterday in my short speech, when it comes to fake news and the devaluation of science and research, then this question becomes another, let's say, framing. And I think also this we have to have in mind. Yeah, and when I now focus on children and young people, adolescents, teenagers, I would like to start with this quote. This is a quote from a boy named Fabian, 16 years old. He was a member of a youth expert team, which was founded by a very powerful foundation in Germany, the Bertelsmann Foundation. And this youth expert group started their work with the commentation, criticism of the Children's World survey in Germany. And it came up that this group of young people from 14 to 21, that they talked a lot about their experiences that adults are not taken seriously into account what young people say. And in this quotes, he opened up two types of addressing young children. It doesn't really matter to me whether someone's approach to children and young people is from the top down, as you saw in the first picture, or whether they want to do something good for children. So a more paternalistic but educational, pedagogical approach. It's basically the same thing. We are not taken seriously. What counts is that we are involved. So this is a typical quote of teenagers who are involved in this kind of discussion, for instance, as member of experts teams. And now we can see it was 2019 that this foundation started with this, no, already earlier, but when it became more public that also a prominent foundation has a youth expert group which gives advice to these experts and organized conferences and talk to politicians And now we have several organizations. Last week I was invited to the National Sports Organization in Germany, a soccer organization, and also Profi soccer. And they also now founded a youth expert group. So there is a growing attention towards the participation of young people. And why is this so, and why is it for good reasons? And I think for me, and I think also for Dagmar and other involved researchers, Children's Worlds, this wonderful global survey with so many countries and children involved, a quantitative representative survey, is an eye-opener also for this question. And on the basis of the sophisticated analysis of our colleague Bong Julie from Seoul National University, we can now argue, and Bong analyzed the whole data set of the last representative survey we published, and his question was, what matters? So what has a real high effect on the well-being of children? And here we see two indicators. First, choice. So a lack of options or choice leads to lower well-being. And this is interesting, and this is important. And the second is being listened to. Across countries, children and young people are least satisfied with, there are the variations, they are satisfied with how adults listen to them. And I would like to argue that it needs, when we go to the professional field, practical fields like social work, like kindergartens, like school, children and young people, they need three things: choice, voice, and exit. This goes back to a sociological theory from the US, where the topic is what kind of roles do people have in a modern society and take over, and choice and voice, I think this is really clear. And voice also means that it needs an audience, that someone is listened to this voice, taken into account, but it needs also exit. That means that for children and young people, the situation can be really precarious, really problematic, and then there is a need of that a child can step out, that there is an option of exit. And I really like this three aspects of what we have to have in mind to construct the institutions, the settings in which children and young people are integrated in their everyday life. So, coming to the participatory research approaches, when we look at the literature, then we can see that there are also historical lines which are maybe helpful to look at them. And one of the really challenging and interesting in between forgotten authors is Kurt Lewin. And Kurt Lewin started thinking about sociology, social theory, and social practice. And he was a researcher who defined a participatory kind of research as action research. And action research became then also prominent in the 1970s. But it also nowadays, we seriously have to think about individual careers. So is a career of a postdoc really possible with action research? This is a question I would like to come up with it. But this is just maybe for a discussion. But what Levine says, that research that produces nothing but books will not suffice. And this is an interesting thought. So that means research should have an impact for the society, for the social organization of the society. Another quote I would like to make you aware of is, and you can find that in so many also posters and contexts. It's not research about people and not for people, but research with people. This is the claim and the fundamental epistemological position of participatory research. So not about, not for, in this more paternalistic way of thinking, but research with people. And this is a kind of maybe radical position that research always has to be done with people. And you can imagine, on the basis of your experiences, of your own research, that this would create many challenges. And this needs totally other procedures, methodologies, and so on. Another important context of participatory research approaches is the feminist theory-oriented sociology, educational science, social work. So this also, I think, is something what we have to have in mind. And what I said at the beginning, we have this crossing of different categories like generation or age and gender. So I'll go not deeper into this, but this is also important when we look at the literature. And then, this you can find also in the literature. There are several participatory models or models of participation, let's say it this way, from Arnstein, for instance, from 1969, where you have this categorization of, on the bottom, manipulation and therapy, which is called non-participation, and then informing, consultation, placatation as degrees of tokenism, and then partnership, delegate power, citizen control as degrees of citizen power. And this is these 8 ranks, so is how Arnstein called it, on citizen participation. I'm not sure whether you have, but I guess you have this citizens' participation in research. So when citizens collect data and send it to researchers about butterflies in a specific area and so on. So with this climate and natural sciences aspect, this is becoming more and more popular. But when I read this years ago, I thought I found myself as a researcher with this methodology of asking children themselves about their childhood and not only adults. I found myself, let's say, really innovative and progressive. And then I saw, okay, just asking children to inform me about their experiences, this is a very low degree of participatory research. And then I started again thinking about that. There's another, the ladder of participation. Again, here we have two major parts: non-participation, and I found the second level, decoration, really important, because when we look at some publications, then there are in a paper here and there a quote of a child. And this is more decoration if it is not integrated into an analysis. So I think this could be a sensitive framing, how we also integrate voices of children. And then the highest level is the child-initiated shared decisions with adults. This is the highest, here in this concept, the highest degree of participation. I must say, we in our research projects, we never received that. And we also should discuss, is this the way to do research in our context? But I think for me it was important to show you these models, because these models are also when for instance, the latter in discussions I had with adult survivors on child sexual abuse, they are very often arguing on the basis of that model, and they say it's not you as a researcher who should initiate research. It's us as experienced experts. And so then it comes to discussions. So a German expert from Munich University, Hella von Unger, she is doing a lot of about the quality of participation. It is crucial that the partners as co-researchers have a say and a right of co-determination. So, and now we have two other, two other terms, co-researchers. And I think with that we can go further ahead, co-researchers and co-determination. And I think this is a way, for me, so far, a way to have this kind of co-researching, whether with children or with adult survivors. Or let's say when it comes to a study on poverty, with people who are agreeing and have an interest in acting as co-researcher in that context. So let me give you some information about the projects I'm involved in, and some information about structures that encourage participation in social science. So how can we think about that? How can we practice the participatory approach research? And there are some crucial points. So first of all, what we learned is that participatory research with children or parents take time. It's much more time consuming than other methods, and we have to take this into consideration. Do we have the time? Does the funder of a research project accept that it is much more time consuming? There are several questions about ethics and ethical approval. There is the question of material resources. then integrating children and young people as co-researchers, this is not for nothing. So you have to organize that trips, for instance, from far away to the university, or you have to travel to them. There's also the question about is it necessary that they get some money out of that time they spend with the researcher, and there is the power of interpretation. So, and now I'm going to give you some information about our experiences. The young expert team demand, there's a mistake, sorry, a typo. Nicht as us, ask us. So this young expert team of the Bertelsmann Foundation is part of the program which asks questions about child-centered policies. I'm a little bit involved in that, and they started thinking about on the national level the policies against child and family poverty, for instance. And then there are some good indicators that the political strategies in our country, and maybe also in your country, that they are not putting the child into the center. So what needs a child or a teenager or a young adult when it comes to questions of fighting against poverty, sharing reduced resources, and whose interest counts more. So that was the context of this this group in the foundation. And then with that in mind, they asked themselves if we are arguing for a more child-centered approach for the political agenda, then we also need a youth expert team. We also have to have challenge us to receive advice from youth experts. And you see here, these photos are already published, so I can use them ethically wise. You see the first generation of youth experts and the second generation. And the idea of this youth expert team came up before 2017. Then it was established, 17 young people in the age range of 14 to 21. And the original purpose was that they should be a kind of sparring partner for the foundation and for the research projects within this context of the foundation. And our Children's World Survey, which combined the quantitative survey of all of us, we had an age range of 8 to 14, a representative school-based sample. We received 3,400 young people. And we also collected more than 20 focus group discussions, so a lot of qualitative material, and we combined it together. And this youth expert team were the first audience for us to present our interpretation, our data. And then it came up that they really criticized and problematized some of our questions. What we are doing constantly, but in the group of researchers, they started, why did you ask this question in that way? And then it came up in these sessions we had that they really argued that it needs at least a serious consultation of young people before we published a questionnaire. And that was extremely interesting. And then After that, I discussed with them some of our findings, and I received alternative interpretations or ideas how to interpret. And on that basis, together with the Bertelsmann Foundation, we organized a conference in Berlin. And this conference was mainly managed by this youth expert team. They received support for that, but this conference, it was structured into 4 theme workshops on the basis of our Children's World Survey. And we as researchers were invited to give in a workshop a short input. And then the discussion started with professionals, with other researchers, but led by the young people. And the foundation organized it that members of the parliament, of the national parliament, were invited. Members who are interested or who are responsible for family and child and youth policies. And then the young people started talking and discussing with the members of parliament. That was really powerful. A powerful day on the basis of our research, but the voice were given to the young people. That was really interesting. And from there, they published some brochures I will show you later, also commenting on what we did in the Children's World Survey. And now we have a second generation of YEX team, is it called, since 2023. And here the idea is in the forefront of co-creating participatory conferences and also commenting on research. So here you see a kind of a timeline. Right after the conference in Berlin, they published this brochure, Ask Us, and from there we worked again on what we should and could do when it comes to a more co-construction of research, and so we have some publications about that. And this too, Ask Us, they are the authors are the youth expert team, supported by experts from the Bertelsmann Foundation. And then these publications you can see here. Some of them are under the responsibility and authorship of myself and my team, but we involved all the time this youth expert team. And they also have parts in it where they have own texts published in these reports. So, and from there, we developed an interesting research experiment. The title is Peer-to-Peer. This is we're trying to find a way of participatory research and getting more information and knowledge about different roles researchers, teenagers, children can have. And in this peer-to-peer project, we had 2 questions, 2 research-oriented questions. What needs of young people can we do? What do we learn about needs of young people? And the second is for researchers, the accessibility of young people. And again, we work together with the expert team, expert youth team. We started in March 2020, and I'm sure you all know that then COVID started, and so we worked together with 8 members of the young expert team, and they act as co-researchers in that project. We were supported by 6 employees of the foundation. We had a colleague involved from the University of Education in the south of Germany, and we were 2 researchers from the Goethe-University. And our method was a kind of participatory action research. We collected 25 group discussions, focus group discussions, in 2 survey phases. So the first phase was really very much characterized by the COVID pandemic. So we had 11 virtual workshops with older teenagers and young adults from from 16 years on. That was because of ethical and data protection issues, because it was too difficult to integrate younger children in a Zoom conference. So then we decided to focus on this age group. And then we had 14 workshops in presence with younger teenagers and children. All in all, we involved 112 young people. And then the analysis was a qualitative content analysis. But who talked to this 112 young people? The co-researchers. The co-researchers, they were the persons who asked questions, who started the discussion, and we as researchers, we were just in the background and just observed this data collection procedure. And we had protocols and so on. We really qualified this 8 young experts from the team, so that they also felt good enough prepared. And that was our way to try to find another form which is also solid and valid, but which is another way of talking to young children, because their argument was, maybe you as researchers have too big distance to younger children. And that worked very well. That was really interesting how it worked. And but what we did for the implementation of this project, and as I said, it takes a lot of time. You need more resources than in other contexts, and you can also fail. There's also sometimes a lot of frustration within the group of young co-researchers. So we implemented it on the basis of regular internal meetings. We include on a regular basis and reflect on the collaboration. The co-researchers, they really argued that they wanted to conduct the group discussions themselves. So we provided with scientific method training, supported them in the process. And what we also tried to organize, and this also worked very well, a joint analysis of the data. So some findings, just to give you an example, findings on accessibility. It was really interesting to see how these young people started thinking about what should researchers know when they are going to ask young people. So where to ask was one of the questions they raised, and they said, so it needs diverse accesses. Diversity came very much up into this focus group discussions, how to be aware of that, how to ask, and they focused mainly on how is the atmosphere, is the school context good enough? Is the atmosphere good enough to ask children and young people and the relationship? And what to ask, how intimate or personal can a question be, or what do we know how intimate a question can recognize from a child's perspective, and how serious. So from there, we developed a guideline for other researchers what they should or could think about when they are going to ask children, even if it's not a participatory context or participatory research. That was really powerful and knowledgeable. Some findings about the needs of young people, and I would say we did a lot of qualitative studies on that. And at the moment, I have the impression, I'm not sure whether my colleagues will agree on that, that let's say at the moment, nothing really new comes out. So what we can see is so that education is extremely important, but in a way that they ask for instruments to distinguish between, for instance, valuable truths and fake news. Self-determination is one of the categories which came up, social relationships. Then this topic of rights, financial security, health. That was in the context of COVID so prominent. Also in other studies before that, it was not that much in the focus as far in the children's world's focus, but that was also because of a lack of questions towards health. So this is also interesting. And environment, so the climate, the importance of nature is also what we, on the basis of quotes, really find. And here to give you an example, education or demanding theoretical and practical knowledge. So one aspect here is that young people are saying that they are taught things indirectly. So, for instance, they learn at school only one answer is correct, or that they are learning to work individually and not together. So there are in this, from these working groups, we have a really nice chapter. I think it would be nice, it would be interesting for teachers' education to look at what they are thinking about education at school and what topics they wish. For instance, they wish to learn at school about the tax system in Germany. It's maybe more important than other issues, other topics. So just to show up some of the findings. And here, and now I'm coming to an end, this is another project, so-called, I'm involved in. Every government has to assign a committee of experts from research and professional fields to write a report on the situation of young people and the child and youth services in Germany. So it's a kind of monitoring the political strategies in that period. And we were invited with a group of 17, no, it's the 17th report, but we were 12 or 13 members of this committee. And here and that's the first time, it's the 17th report, and the first time that we worked also together with children and adolescents. And in that period, we integrated more than 5,000 children, adolescents, and young adults. We developed different instruments like workshops all over Germany. We had a kind of hearing in which we invited a bigger group of young people to talk with us. And we also invited on a quantitative basis young people. You can see, sorry, this is in German. I wasn't able to change this 2 slides. I took it from our website. And we, at the end of such a report, we should also give recommendations to the government. And one of our main recommendations was that whenever it comes to social reporting, monitoring for governments, then about children, family, the services, school, then it should be obligatory to integrate young people. And what was interesting, a group of young people published, independent from the expert committee, a brochure, a publication about the report. And just 2 weeks ago, young people were invited to an audit, and they published a very interesting, challenging, political-oriented paper and criticized adultism, for instance. And so here are some ideas how to integrate young people. So what we can say when we transfer it to a more general ideas. So as research team, we can summarize, of course, participatory research approaches can succeed in the context of child and family studies. Young people can be profitably and fruitfully asked and involved. All researchers learn. We learned a lot from the young people. And the peer-to-peer workshops made a difference for the participants and in a way triggered some changes. It was we observed differences, and the children and young people, they had much more fun with the youth expert team members. So, and potential and limitations, there are still power constellation and hierarchies. We have definitely to think about interpretation, sovereignty, and ownership. Who owns the data? Who owns the papers which come up? And definitely time and costs. I would say these projects would never have happened without the financial support by this foundation. And also from the government, because we were encouraged to, in this report, we were encouraged to integrate young people. So what does it mean when we look at the lack of resources for researchers nowadays? And are there any ways to reduce costs, for instance? Structures are also really important, and this self-reflection and ability to take criticism. And what we also experienced, and it took us really a lot of time to think about child protection aspects in the context of research, participatory research. And this makes me at the moment also more aware of, shouldn't we, as together, as researchers together, as well as with co-researchers, think more about practically aspects of participatory research and be aware of the limitations, but on the basis of what I said at the beginning, choice, voice, and exit is so important. And what can we learn from that when it comes to a lack of choice, a lack of voice in general in the society, and how can we go ahead on this to empower children, young people. And I think this could be one way, but it's not the only way we have as researchers. And from here, I will stop and thank you very much for your long attention to this morning.